thinking that I want you to know that we have choices. Hi, everybody. Helen from Positive Space here. My special guest tonight, this is a very special conversation, is somebody that is very dear to my heart, and it is Rob Imparato. He is my favorite nephew and also a devoted Susan G. Komen walker. Rob has raised over $100,000 for the Susan G. Komen Foundation as a walker, and with the Avon Foundation, he raised an additional $50,000. So all totaled, my nephew has raised over $150,000 for breast cancer awareness, education, and wellness. Now, this is very personal to me because last year, 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And what Rob did for me last year was one of the most generous, kindest gestures that I've really ever experienced, that he walked for me. And I'm a crier, so you're just going to have to deal with that. But it was very touching. And he started these walks 10 years ago in 2011. And I want him to share his insight with you tonight as to why he does it, what his passion is, why he wears those cuckoo cray-cray outfits, and we're going to go from there. So I would like you to meet my nephew, Rob Imparato.
Hi,
Hey, Rob. Hi, how you doing?
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Well, I want to get to it. The first thing is I understand you are being recognized by the Susan G. Komen Foundation for lifetime fundraising, as I said before, for $100,000 lifetime raising. What does this consist of, this big achievement? What's going to happen?
Well, I'm about to find out, really. So the Komen gives certain levels of recognition for certain fundraising achievements, like $100,000 and upwards. And so they're going to put my name on the wall at their headquarters in Dallas, Fort Worth. I'll be recognized on a future walk, and probably in Boston in August. Social media recognition, which is forthcoming, and as well as probably media interviews and probably just an award. I also got a plaque. I'll show you this.
Show me the plaque.
Within the last month.
That's really cool. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. So compared to there are other walkers who've done this much longer than I have, who raised over $1 million. So in comparison, comparatively speaking, it's not that much, but it's still impressive nonetheless.
Are you kidding? It's not that much?
Well, compared to other people, but still for me, it's a lot. So, yeah.
You should be very proud of yourself.
And I am. You know how humble I am.
That's amazing. So tell me, when did you started walking in 2011, right?
Yes.
Why did you start walking?
It's funny because I actually started down here. A friend of our family, walked in Tampa for Komen in 2010, asked for a donation. And I'm not much of an athlete. I snow ski, I do beach walks, but I'm not really much of a runner. So I thought to myself, 20 miles a day, 3 days, 60 miles over a weekend, I can do this. How hard can it be? And so I gave $100 to my friend that week, that year in 2010, and registered for Dallas Fort Worth in 2011, and gave it a shot and got hooked. And
so how did you train? How did you train for this?
Well, it's funny because most walkers are in the U.S. and they have parks, they have long distances, and the Komen gives you an actual schedule of training, like number of miles to walk in a given day. They want you to start small, it's 3 to 4 miles a day, ramping up to 15 miles on the day towards the end of the training session. For me, Grand Cayman is a very small island, so walking 15 miles is walking in loops. So I had to walk to my neighborhood like 5 times in a row. I would stop and take a water break, bathroom break, get back out there. And it was monotonous and it was flat. A lot of the trails that I've walked, a lot of the cities I've walked have been hilly. So unfortunately, being on a flat island like Grand Cayman doesn't help at all. But I do have good legs and I do have good experience. And so just a lot of loops, really.
Why is this a passion for you?
It started with friends of ours who were diagnosed. Like it's long before I started walking, and passed away from breast cancer long before I started walking. And it was from our friend Susan O'Brien, who you know, Helen, as well, Joey's wife. And so I walked originally for her and for Shannon, her daughter. And then I knew a few people on island here and in the U.S. Who've been diagnosed. And unfortunately, that number grew. And people just kept telling me, hey, Rob, I'm glad you're doing this for me. I didn't want to share it with anybody, but I was diagnosed and now I'm in remission. So if you don't mind adding me to your list, I'd be honored. And so I do that. And then, of course, in 2020, as you mentioned earlier, the world changed for our family and became much more personal. And so last year, 2020, the walks were canceled because of COVID. There are normally 4 walks per year. Used to be a lot more, but because of funding, they cut it back to 4. And last year, because of COVID, there's only 1 in San Diego, which is my first walk in 2 years. And so, as you see there from the slide, I did it for you.
Yes, you did. I'm framing that, by the way, in addition to the cuckoo tutu you wore, but I'm framing the one. Tell me about your shirt, More Than Pink. Tell me about that.
Sure. More Than Pink was a marketing slogan for Komen, I want to say within the last 5 years. And so they sent me this shirt when I reached a lower plateau for level for fundraising, and I got this in the mail. And More Than Pink was like meaning to signify that, yes, we all think of breast cancer, and the color pink comes to mind immediately. The movement has done a great job of marketing it, but as you know, it's a lot more than the color. It's a lot more than a symbol. A lot more than a ribbon. It's about hope. It's about survival. It's about perseverance and empathy and so many other adjectives. And so this More Than Pink movement is obviously about the pink bubble. It's more a bubble of kindness and empathy and just hope, and about not giving up.
I want to read a quote from you, which I think sums up why you do this. It says, and I quote from you, "The 3-day world is one of kindness, compassion, empathy, and inspiration, where courageous survivors walk alongside grateful wanderers like yours truly and feel every possible emotion along the way." Tell me about that. What emotions do you feel when you're walking? Because I will tell you, I've done 1 breast cancer walk, and I know you're going to join me sometime in the fall for the Jones Beach walk here on Long Island.
Yep.
But years before I got diagnosed, I did a walk for a friend of mine. And I remember getting there and being surrounded by all these women, and it was so upbeat and so positive and so much fun that I was moved to tears. And this was 4 or 5 years before I even got my diagnosis. But I remember bursting into tears thinking, this is weird, but I just found it to be just amazing. So what are your emotions when you start walking? Just tell me the gamut you run, because it can't be, hey, how you doing? Let's do this. What kind of emotions do you feel? Where do you go?
Actually, it's funny. I'm kind of an introvert. As much as my outfits and my colors may tell otherwise, a lot of times when I'm walking, I'm doing it on my own, and people come to me and they start chatting to me, and I hear their stories, and more often than not, it's their personal stories of either being in remission or still fighting breast cancer, or having somebody in their family, a parent or a sibling or a best friend, either pass away or still fighting it. And so, to answer your question, Helen, I feel gratitude for being able to, gratitude for listening to their stories and them sharing it with me. I feel empathy. I feel joy that we're all able to do this. I feel sadness for those we've lost. It's, like you said, it's an entire range of emotion. And I don't cry very easily, but I came pretty darn close a few times. And so you feel overwhelmed.
I remember when I told you that that I had breast cancer. All good now, but I remember when I told you, and you and I, we're quite close. As Rob and I are very good friends. I'm going to tell you a quick sidebar story. Is Rob really doesn't call me Aunt Helen anymore, because when I first got divorced, I dated somebody 11 years younger, and Rob is 11 years younger than I am. And he decided at that point, I can't call you Aunt Helen anymore. So he just calls me Helen, which I find quite funny. But one of the things is we are very close and we talk a lot. And I'll never forget that I was met with dead silence on the phone. And then I said, it's going to be fine. It's okay. It's early stage. Going to go through all what I have to go through. And I remember that you called a lot and you texted a lot, and you were there for me quite a bit. So publicly, I do want to say thank you. But I want to go to this pink bubble. Can you describe a little bit more what the pink bubble means?
Sure. It's really one of those things you get to experience it to really appreciate it. But I can give you a glimpse of what it's like. You show up early Friday morning for an opening ceremony, and the number of walkers ranges from, like, say, 1,000 walkers and say in Philadelphia or Atlanta, or range up to about 3,500 or 4,000 at its peak in San Diego. San Diego is in November of every year, and it's the crown jewel, in my opinion, of walks. It's sunny San Diego. The location primarily. You start in Del Mar. If you know San Diego at all, you start in Del Mar and you go down through Ocean Beach, Pacific Beach, Laguna, Mission Beach, and then 3 days going through these beautiful coastlines and then parks and through Torrey Pines, the nature reserve, and then end up in downtown San Diego, Old Town, on Sunday. And so from Friday morning through Sunday night, the closing ceremony, it's literally a party. Now, mind you, we're all like getting blisters on our heels, and we're struggling to walk, 20 miles a day. And to be fair, it's harder than it seems. A lot of folks, rely on what's called the sweet vans. You're not obligated to walk 20 miles. Komen wants your fundraising. Yeah, Komen really wants your fundraising, which is great. That's why we're here. But they're not keeping score. They're not measuring how far you walk. You can walk 20 miles or 20 steps. Depends on what your ability is or what you want to do. I've always walked 20 miles. It's just who I am. But when you do it, it's always this positivity. You block out the outside world. And, I think about the world events that have occurred, when it surrounded our walks. Like, for example, in 2016, was November, and the election had just occurred, and the mood in California was very sad because, who won the election, without getting into that. And so this really served as a respite from that, for people to feel uplifted. Like, okay, there's more to life than current events. This is real. We're raising money and awareness for a disease that has not gone away, especially now in the age of COVID.
Right.
Cancer has not gone away.
Now, you've always done this solo. Is there any reason you just didn't want to be part of a team or get a team going?
Well, yes and no. I say that I walk solo, but I have been adopted over the years. I made friends over the years. More so in Avon. As you mentioned earlier, I did the Avon walks when they had them. They stopped in 2017. I did it in Houston for 5 years in a row. And the first year I did Avon, 2013, I was adopted by a team called Deli Nation. And some group of ladies who lost their mom and became friends right away. And we walked together for the next 5 years. And we still stay in touch to this day. So I do make friends. It's just, I guess, I've tried on the island to form a team and, not been very successful at it. My family, Rita's done it once with me. She was a one and done a long time ago. So it's funny, you walk alone, but you never really are alone. People find you, you find them, and everybody's got a story, and they're happy to share it.
How do you train for a 60-mile walk? Because how do you do that? When do you start training? How do you start?
Well, I train year round. I walk year round anyway. Like, I'll walk 3 miles a day, 4 days a week. Now that I live on the beach, I do beach walks, which is good for the feet. Again, I rely on loops. Again, I just 7 Mile Beach is not really 7 miles long. I walk 3 or 4 miles and then turn around and come back. And you just do intervals. And I guess,
What about, has the weather ever been too hot, too cold? And have you ever said, I've had enough of I'm done. I've had enough of this. I'll fudge it. They'll give me the money. They'll never know. Have you ever done that? Tell the truth.
Okay. I'll tell you the truth. I wanted to. It's funny. The first day I did this in Dallas Fort Worth in 2011, it was 30 degrees. It was
Uh-huh.
the beginning of November during the opening ceremony, and I knew what I knew what to expect. I layered up. I'm like, why am I doing this? This is ridiculous. And of course, Texas being Texas, by lunchtime it was 70 degrees. So go figure.
Yeah.
So the worst weather I ever had was in 2014 in Philadelphia, and day 2 it just poured like drenched rain. And so we walk rain or shine. Only once has we've been called off because in Houston one time there was lightning. We were putting buses for our own protection, but short of a lightning storm, if it's pouring down rain, you put on your poncho and just go. Well, I didn't have a poncho. I had my shirt, I had my tutu, had my hat, and I just walked. And I was I was miserable. And by mile 11 or 12 that day, I went to take a picture of something I saw on the route. My phone was dead. The phone was my phone was in my backpack. Water had gotten through the backpack and it soaked it, and just the phone was completely dead. And I was so angry and frustrated. I let out a blood curdling scream. And so, why am I doing this? Like this, and just I wanted to stop. And then walked another half mile through a neighborhood, and you're gonna laugh at this. Somebody left out an igloo full of beer in their driveway, beer cans. So you know what? I've deserved this. I grabbed the beer can, started walking with the beer can, and then all of a sudden, literally within 5 minutes later, somebody drove along in their car and saying, "I know you're wet already, but do you need a poncho?" There's a total stranger is giving me a poncho out of the blue.
Nice.
Yes,
okay.
That happens a lot. People on the route will give you stuff that you need.
Well, let's talk about the sneakers. Do you wear them out? Do you get new every year? What do you do?
Yes, every year. New Balance.
Yeah.
Yes.
New Balance?
New Balance.
Okay.
Yes. I found New Balance in 2011, and I upgraded the latest. It's version 1080 or whatever it is, and I get the latest and greatest model every year, and it lasts the entire season.
Oh, now we got to talk about the tutu.
Yes, which I did not bring up.
Talk to me about the tutu.
Yes, the tutu was one of those things I decided to wear it 5-6 years ago. There it is. Thank you. I'm on Amazon. I get a new one every year. It's been through hell every year, and so it's just, it's funny. We have I would say the ratio of men to women is 75-25 women, and a lot of guys wear tutus. I was
going to ask you about that. Who dresses more bizarrely, the men or the women? I bet it's the men.
The men do, actually. The men do. The men go further than I go. I've seen men wear literally melons on their chest, for their melons. I've seen men wear bras, which I've not done. I've seen I wish I'd shown you a picture of this. There's a guy every year dressed like a hooker in San Diego, just wearing a bra and faux panties on the block. It's hysterical. I'm happy wearing my tutu. I'm happy wearing my knee-high socks. I'm happy wearing my animal hat. That's really as far as I go. But there are dudes out there who are much bolder than I am.
Okay. I think you look adorable in the tutu. I just want you to know that.
I think it's me. I think if I tried anything further, it would kill the fan base.
Totally you, but that's a family secret. We're not gonna go anywhere with that. But what is the longest mile as opposed to what is the shortest mile? When's your longest mile? And don't say it's mile 90 or something like that. Tell me what the longest mile is. What's the longest mile?
Mile before lunch. And I'll tell you why, because there's an old saying, there's a joke, within the Komen circles that, they have these volunteers for route safety and other functions that people all volunteer crew, and they cheer you on, and they can help you out when you need guidance or support. And they'll always say, when you're crossing the street, they'll say, okay, a mile to lunch or a mile and a half to lunch, and they're lying. It's more like 2 miles. It's whatever reason they have these route cards, and the route cards are never accurate. It's worse than Google. It is so you're relying. Yes, in this day and age, you get your own GPS, you can get your own Garmin and whatnot, and that's much more accurate. But if you don't have that, you're relying on these volunteers and their information. So when you told it's a mile to camp or a mile to lunch, really, and all of a sudden, okay, wait a minute, I've walked 20 minutes. I'm still on the route. I know my pace. It's not a mile. They're lying to me. It's frustrating, but it's, you laugh it off. It's like, so you ask, now you ask the volunteers, is that an actual mile or a Komen mile? And they know what you mean, and they get it. So they can't tell you the truth, but it's just part of the inside joke. So to answer your question, right before lunch.
Okay. Now the next question is what do you do when you have to pee? Sorry.
Oh.
I mean, it's a valid question.
What
do you do?
Oh yeah. So I should say this. Actually, very important detail. We have pit stops. It's not a straight 20-mile stretch. It's a good 2.5 mile, 3 mile segment between pit stops. So it's very well structured. Very well structured. Usually in the parking lot, the pit stops consist of like porta potties, water. Refill your water bottle, Gatorade, snacks. They're medical tents. So if you have a cramp or a blister, medics on call in case you need them. If you're done for the day, you can get a ride back to camp. You can get so it's very well structured.
Do we have, Anna, by any chance, do we have a donation link for the Susan G. Komen walk that Rob's going to be doing by any chance? Can we throw that up? Okay, everybody, just so you know, Rob is going to be walking again in New England. I think my goddaughter is going to be walking that as well. Is that true?
Chicago. You're
Chicago. I was so close. New England, Chicago, Northeast. Come on.
Right,
Midwest. Anyway, but if anybody would like to donate to Rob's walking, please write that down, or you can, I'm going to take the liberty and say you can DM him, Rob Imparato, Imparato, if you would like to donate. And if you would like to donate in my honor, that would be even better, because I have a lot of friends that are watching tonight, and that would be wonderful. And no 3-day in Grand Cayman, huh? Because it's all flat.
No, I keep trying, and she's short. It'd be a lot of loops.
Okay.
And, I've tried. So.
Okay. Well, we'll try again. When is your next walk, though? What are the next 3 that are coming up?
I got 4 this year, so
4.
I'm doing all 4 this year. So New England, which is the Boston area, August 26th to 28th. Chicago, the middle of September. Dallas Fort Worth in the beginning of November, and then San Diego again end of November before Thanksgiving.
But you're going to do my walk with me at Jones Beach. It's only a 4-mile walk. It'll be easy breezy for you.
Of course.
Okay, I'm going to hold you to that. And
awesome.
Also, how many miles have you racked up now? Like all totaled?
Let's do the math here. 30 walks roughly. 60 miles. Let's say 1,500 miles.
I have it right here. You have racked up.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, here's your stats. 18 completed 3-day walks, plus 11 Avon walks, over 150,000 raised for Komen and Avon, and nearly 1,500 miles. Right. So the question, we're running out of time. This went very quickly, so thank you again. But what makes you keep coming back? Because I have to say, as much as you've made friends and it's, nice to do and everything like that, I think it's got to be a grind after mile 10, first day. So what keeps you coming back, Rob?
I'm going to cry again, Helen. It's people like you, your story. There are many more Helens out there. People who, who knew walkers, and people who are close to you. And all of a sudden they get the diagnosis, and the fight never ends. And especially the last 2 years, COVID has rightfully taken center stage. Breast cancer hasn't gone away. The need is still out there, and actually the funding has taken a hit because of other focuses. So, the world needs us. They need us to continue to walk. They need us to continue to fundraise. They need people who I reach out to, and thank all of you for donating. To help me continue to do what I do. And every dollar you raise goes towards treatment and goes towards wellness and finding a cure. I'm not done with this until we find a cure, however long it takes.
Bless your heart. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you. I might also mention that Rob is a board chairman for the Meals on Wheels Foundation in Grand Cayman, and I'm going to be visiting him very, very soon. and we're going to go to the gala. We're wearing orange. Some people look good in orange, some people don't. But I will be there with bells on, and of course for the breast cancer gala in September or October. I don't remember when that is. Rob, thank you very much.
Oh, by the way, before I forget, thank you. This is my. We cannot
put it on. Put it on.
Yeah.
I know you want to.
This is my animal hat. I want to beat breast cancer. Beat breast cancer. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'll talk to you soon. We'll see you next week, everybody. Thank you. Love you, Rob. Thanks again. Bye, honey.
Bye.